If you wanted to talk about a Hollywood drama after hiring the likes of Spielberg and other various producers from ABC, and since David and I have both very well educated and have written many speeches in our years, I'm going to give you 7 highlights. Inclusivity, equality, empowerment, economic opportunity, healthcare, climate change, and foreign policy. I've now hit the 7 fingers that are going to fuck you. Now, why do I say that they're going to fuck you? Because I'm going to immediately, when I take control, end the border crisis. Now, the average person says, yeah, that's a great idea. I'll vote for that. Now, what does that really mean? Everyone has a path to citizenship without delay. Everyone has a right to a driver's license without delay. Everyone can vote in a country without delay. Welcome, everybody. My name's Stuart Brisgell, and that's my co-host, David Solomon. As we peel back layers on a multitude of topics without holding a thing back. This is like a podcast, a blog, where David and I really don't talk about how we feel. Well, maybe we do, but maybe it's how maybe you should think you should feel. Because we're trying to give you the information parsed in an open, fair environment. As we dive into this current event and many other pop culture, politics, and quirks of existence. Whether I'm venting or David's venting over life's daily frustrations, because let me tell you, we both got those. And maybe you do too. But get comfortable as we engage in this journey and discussion. David, who didn't watch the ABC Spielberg production called Day 4, the final day of the DNC, where they had Kamala on time at 10 o'clock Eastern, instead of giving the current president the swan song at 11:28 p.m. There's a lot to be said about telegraphing how you feel. David, it's been a while. How do you feel?
Oh, Stuart, I got to tell you, I'm laughing. I'm laughing at the naivete, the propaganda, the drama. I mean, let me remind everybody, this is a production. You forgot Oprah, because she too is producing this. You forgot about all the people that they paraded on stage. And the Republicans are no better. I mean, they parade their own people. But the Democrats like to lay it thick as well. But one of the things that caught my attention, Stuart, was yesterday's speech from Kamala Harris. Whoever her speechwriter was, bravo. Bravo.
It's Obama.
Got to be Obama's speechwriter because the statements were so similar. The attitudes were so similar. Look at me. I'm a mixed race, as she paraded her husband and her mother and everything else on stage. Because the Democrats like to do that, to show them that, look, we are the party of the people, although they are the most divisive party of the people. But they like to pretend and parade and try to show how they are better than you and me and any other conservative and any other American. They're smarter. They're better. They take you for dumb. And I'll give you one example, Stuart, of why the Democrats, and led by Kamala Harris, believe that. Towards the end of her speech last night, she addressed the so-called elephant in the room, right? Outside of the DNC convention in Chicago, the Chicago police have done a phenomenal job of keeping at bay the so-called pro-Palestinian protesters. I hate that term because while they stand up with their keffiyehs and their masks and they're screaming for death to Israel, whatever, they're screaming for death to America. They're calling for intifada in America, which means what, folks? If you know what intifada means, it's pure terrorism and death and destruction. And they want to bring the holy jihad to America. That's what they're calling for. And for 4 days, no one addressed it. No one talked about it. Until last night, when Kamala Harris finally stands up on the stage and says that she stands up with Israel with her right to defend herself, and America will stand with her, as the Americans passed in their Democrats passed, in their policy. But Stuart, what she then said was the Palestinians should live in dignity and no death and humanitarian and no. And she did call out Hamas as a terrorist organization. But what is it she didn't say? And there were two things that stood out once again that shows that Kamala Harris is Obama's baby cousin. Obama, for 8 years, wanted to screw Israel. He didn't want peace in the Middle East. Let me remind everybody that Barack Obama was called for his own jihad in Egypt with the Arab Spring by bringing in terrorists, the Muslim Brotherhood, to power. He claims we're getting rid of autocratic rule by putting in the Muslim Brotherhood. So instead of having an autocrat, we have terrorists, because that's what the Muslim Brotherhood was. And the world applauded, not understanding that you essentially took Hamas, their cousins, the Muslim Brotherhood, and put them in power. And could you imagine Egypt, Stuart, being like Gaza today? That's what Obama was going to do for 8 years. Force Israel into that kind of scenario. Kamala Harris, Stuart, did that last night. You didn't hear it. And you're saying, where'd you get that? Because while she condemned Hamas as a terrorist organization, what she didn't call for, and yes, she said returning of the hostages, but she didn't call for, if you want a two-state solution, Stuart, number one, lay down your arms. Hamas, lay down your arms. Nope. You're forcing Israel to negotiate a bad ceasefire. She says, me and Joe, we're working together towards a ceasefire. We're going to get it done because I'm working tirelessly. And I'm paraphrasing. I know. Kamala, what are you talking about? What are you really doing? How? Because what Hamas wants, Yahya Sinwar wants guarantees that no one's going to take his life. He wants to release Palestinian prisoners who've committed these heinous crimes and then negotiate the release of the Israeli hostages. Like there's no, like you, and what does she not say, Stuart? By stating what she said, she didn't blame Hamas for Palestinian suffering. She essentially let the statement fly. Israel's responsible. Again, she did it a few weeks ago when Netanyahu was in Washington, and she essentially did it again. And if you listen to the applause, Stuart, the applause was louder by the Democrats for Palestine and these Palestinians than supporting their ally in Israel. Stuart, protesters outside, no one wanted to address it. And I will say this. I do appreciate that the Democratic Party let the Golden family talk about the release of their son. They're hardcore Democrats. They love the Democratic Party. And they begged the Democrats to wake up and release the hostages. But you know what, Stuart? What bothered me? The Democrats still have such haters in their party that their people within the party are mad at Kamala and the organizers because they wouldn't let a pro-Palestinian speak. The Golden family only asked to release the hostages. It had nothing to do with peace in the Middle East and whatever. Do the humanitarian thing. But within their own party, Kamala Harris is leading the charge of haters. And instead of condemning hate in America, which is led by the United States, by this party, nothing. Stuart, Kamala Harris spoke yesterday as if she wasn't in the bloody White House for the last 3.5 years. You've been there. You've done nothing, but you claim you've done something. So which is it, Kamala? Are you in or are you out? You can't blame everything that's going on Donald Trump. That's what you did yesterday. Donald Trump hasn't been in power since 2021. January 2021, he walked out of the White House. So Kamala, what exactly are you going to change? And this is what blows my mind. Flip-flop. I'm in the White House. I'm not in the White House. It's Donald Trump's fault. I'm not to be blamed for anything, but day one, I'm going to make this my priority. Stuart, it sickens me that Americans are buying into this propaganda, and I'm scared to say this, but in November, Kamala Harris will be your next president.
David, God have mercy on our soul. There's a way to look at this a little differently and continue on with the Hollywood theme. You know, the average American, which represents more than half the population, live in areas where they don't care about DEI. They don't care about knowing anything more than they know and wish everyone well. The expression of bless his heart, because they really don't give a shit about what you want to do. Just do it on your own time. Don't do it in front of me. Why do I have to make something special? You know, the DEI movement, which comes from California, Seattle, Washington, the DC belt, and some other places, just isn't what America wants. And to be honest with you, Kamala Harris is just saying what people want to hear without people asking the questions is, how can you do this? How are you going to make this happen? And what are the repercussions and ramifications for it? You know, when the government says, I'm here to help, you need to be frightened. People in America and around the world have forgotten that. If you want a country controlled by DC, you could live in Soviet Union, Russia, Venezuela, or Cuba and have that great experience. Or you can ask the millions of people that have left those countries on why they want to come to the beacon of hope called the United States of America. There's a reason why. And you, most Americans, or Westerners, because a lot of you are not from just the United States, you're from Canada and around Europe, don't really think that that's a question that you need to ask. If their country was so good, why did they want to leave? If this country was so bad, why would they risk life and death to get here? People fail to recall asking that question of themselves. They think they're being selfless. Robert Donata, aka De Niro, never thought of asking the question on how he was able to rise to New York stardom if it wasn't for the American dream. He wasn't given the dream. His family fought for the dream. David, wrap this sucker up. And
Stuart, I can tell you, I don't know where you were heading with this, but it's not. This is the problem I have. And folks, you were saying you're not asking the questions. You know, I read publication after publication, and you could tell by the inclination from the Jerusalem Post to CNN that Harris is the only option. She's supporting Israel. She supports the Jewish community in the United States. And I'm asking myself, sit down with her. Stop listening to the speeches, because I can write a great speech myself, and I could talk a wonderful, bit of whatever. But when it comes to policies, actions, that's what I'm looking for. And Kamala Harris's actions have proven the opposite. Whenever you talk about anti-Semitism, she brings up Islamophobia. Whenever you talk about Israel, she talks about Gaza. What is that? That's not policy, Stuart. Actually, let me rephrase that. That is a policy of delegitimization. That is what she has taken, and people are misunderstanding it. You don't have to be balanced. Don't be politically correct, because a good leader, Stuart, doesn't look for political correctness, looks for doing the right thing. And Kamala Harris is only looking to get elected right now, so she can go down in history as the first black woman, the first black woman to be elected president. And it sickens me that all we care about is DEI. All we care about is not making sure that Trump gets elected. You know what, Stuart? I hope in November I'm wrong. But the more the media plays up this narrative, the more Americans are going to think that Harris is the only option. It frightens me, and it frightens Americans. And we'll talk about it, I'm sure, for the next few weeks.
On that note, it's a wrap today. Huge thanks lending us your ears, your eyes, your time. Every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, noon Eastern, David and I just lay it all on the line. It's a quarter hour that you can watch You can listen while you're driving, while you're sleeping, while you're in places where you don't want to discuss.
Wow, if you want us to put you to sleep, then go ahead. Yeah.
That too. Anyway, stay connected on social media. Please don't hesitate. Share your thoughts. Subscribe. We need those subscriptions, guys. We don't get paid for it, but it makes us feel good. PM us. Continue the thoughts. We like the audience growing. Yes, we don't get paid for this, David. You look strange. You're tilting your head.
Wrap it up, please.